The 26 mostly European countries that make up the Coalition of the Willing gathered in London on October 24th to review and coordinate continuing assistance to Ukraine. Although Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky did not secure everything he had sought at the talks, the summit did yield meaningful positive developments for Kyiv. French President Emmanuel Macron unveiled a substantial new tranche of military aid, some elements of which are slated to arrive within days. This package is worth examining in detail: what it contains, how it might change the battlefield balance, and how it aligns with France's broader commitments to Ukraine. Before the London meeting, Zelensky had prioritized two main objectives. First, he wanted access to more long-range strike missiles to intensify operations against Russia's energy infrastructure. Second, he was pushing for a political agreement to allow Ukraine to use Russian assets frozen in Europe to finance its war effort. Until now, Europeans have generally released only the interest generated by those frozen assets, not the principle itself. He left London without firm assurances on either front. Deliveries of long-range weapons, such as Tomahawks, and the release or use of frozen Russian assets remain under debate. Still, Macron's announcement eased some of that disappointment. Macron's aid package focuses on a long-standing Ukrainian vulnerability: depleted air defenses. Ukraine has been trying for months to restore a robust air defense posture to blunt nightly Russian missile and drone salvos that have repeatedly caused widespread power outages and, at times, total blackouts. The first element of France's commitment is extra Aster-15 and Aster-30 interceptor missiles. These missiles arm the Franco-Italian SAMT Mamba battery, the only European-built, land-based system designed to counter both aerodynamic threats and certain ballistic missiles. Ukraine already operates at least one SAMT battery delivered jointly by France and Italy in 2023. Italy indicated in 2024 that it would send a second unit, though delivery status is unclear. Alongside US-built MIM-104 Patriot batteries and German IRIST systems, the SAMT, short for Soleil Moyen Portée Terrestre, ranks among the most capable systems available to Ukrainian forces. It is a road-mobile, ground-based tactical missile defense system developed by Eurosam, the MBDA Thales joint venture, built to defend a theater against aircraft, cruise missiles, tactical ballistic missiles, and loitering munitions like the Shahed 136. The SAMT package centers on an Arabelle multifunction X-band fire control radar that gives full 360-degree coverage, tracking up to 100 targets while engaging as many as 10 simultaneously. The radar supports a fire control center, engagement module, power generator, maintenance vehicle, and a missile reloader. At the heart of a battery is the Transporter Erector Launcher, a TEL, mounted either on a Renault C-Range 8x8 truck chassis or an Astra Iveco 8x8. Each TEL carries 8 vertically launched Aster-30 missiles, and batteries can be grouped to provide up to 48 missiles across 6 launchers, with a TEL capable of firing all 8 missiles in under 10 seconds and of conducting rapid successive launches. The system is highly mobile, can be deployed and redeployed quickly, and a full battery operates with a crew of roughly 14. The additional Aster-30 missiles Macron pledged will materially enhance Ukraine's ability to exploit its SAMT capabilities and could make the planned second Italian battery more useful if it is delivered. But SAMT systems and their missiles are scarce. France fields at least 7 batteries, Italy at least 3, Singapore has 2, and very few others exist. The Aster-30 is a 2-stage solid propellant interceptor with a discardable booster. It measures just over 16 feet in length, is about 7 inches in diameter, and has a launch mass around 992 pounds, carrying a roughly 33-pound high-explosive fragmentation warhead with a directional blast and a proximity fuse. It can reach speeds near Mach 4.5, about 0.87 miles per second, and can engage targets out to roughly 62 miles against high-altitude aircraft, with a reduced range against low-altitude threats, intercepting from as low as 164 feet up to about 12.4 miles in altitude. Guidance combines inertial mid-course navigation with data link updates from the Arabelle radar and active radar homing in the terminal phase. The missile can handle highly maneuvering targets and is designed to resist electronic countermeasures. These interceptors come at a cost, roughly $2 to $3 million apiece, which makes them an expensive answer to cheap loitering munitions worth on the order of $70,000 each, yet economically sensible against expensive strike systems such as Russia's Iskander Kinzhal and Kh-101 missiles, which are themselves costly and usually aimed at high-value infrastructure. France also pledged additional Aster-15 missiles, though Kyiv cannot fire Aster-15 from SAMT batteries because the Mamba is configured only for Aster-30. The Aster-15, likewise produced by Eurosam, is optimized for air targets including helicopters, fighters, missiles and drones, and is frequently used in naval air defense roles aboard French and Italian frigates, equipped with the principal anti-air missile system known as PAAMS. Slightly shorter than the Aster-30 at almost 14 feet, the Aster-15 shares the same diameter but is lighter and has a shorter reach, roughly 18.6 miles, operating up to about 8 miles altitude and approaching speeds of roughly Mach 3. It too uses inertial guidance with data link mid-course updates and active radar homing at the terminal stage with strong maneuverability and countermeasure resilience, and carries a similar fragmentation warhead. Its price is in the ballpark of $1.3 to $2.6 million per missile. If Aster-15 cannot be fired from SAMT, how will Ukraine use the supply of those missiles? The second pillar of Macron's package answers that question: the delivery of a second batch of Mirage 2500F multi-role fighters that France had pledged to Ukraine in early 2024. Macron first announced, after D-Day commemorations on June 6, 2024, that France would provide Mirage 2500 aircraft and train Ukrainian crews in France, with training programs due to start within days and an initial commitment of at least 6, possibly up to a dozen airframes. Ultimately, the first 3 fighters arrived in February 2025 and were pressed into operations almost immediately. On March 7th, one of those Mirages intercepted a Russian Kh-101 cruise missile during a larger missile and drone raid. Ukraine's Air Force reported that a Mirage engaged the incoming missile head-on and launched an air-to-air round that maneuvered to destroy the Kh-101. Analysts suggested the intercepting weapon was likely the Mika air-to-air missile that Mirages normally carry, though an Aster-15 could have been responsible. And with additional Aster-15s now available, Mirages will likely use them against high-value cruise missile threats going forward. Kyiv's Mirages were modified prior to delivery to enable them to fire Aster-15 missiles. Along with the Mirages, the arrival of Western fourth-generation fighters such as F-16s has significantly bolstered Ukraine's aerial capabilities compared with the remaining Soviet-era MiG-29s and Su-27s. While Mirages and F-16s lack some of the stealth and sensor fusion of fifth-generation types like the F-35 or France's Rafale modernization path, they nonetheless expand Ukraine's reach. The Mirage 2500 can approach top speeds near 1,154 miles per hour and carry almost 14,000 pounds of external payload, including precision-guided AASM hammer munitions, Mika air-to-air missiles, and Aster-15 interceptors. Ukraine has also reportedly adapted Mirages to launch Anglo-French Storm Shadow and SCALP/SCOUT type cruise missiles, weapons with ranges on the order of 155 miles, cruise speeds near 600 miles per hour, and warheads in the region of 992 pounds. The modernity of those Western munitions, with sophisticated radar and infrared seekers, gives Mirage crews an important beyond visual range capability that older MiG-29 and Su-27 types lack. The Mirage's Thales RDI multi-mode radar provides longer range detection and the ability to handle many contacts simultaneously. It can detect dozens of aerial targets, track multiple threats, and support multiple simultaneous engagements. Its digital cockpit and avionics also markedly improve situational awareness over older Soviet platforms, enabling faster tactical decisions. The Mirage is lighter and more agile than older designs, has extended range for deeper strikes or longer air cover, and is therefore versatile across many mission types. That said, Mirages are not ideal for facing advanced fifth-generation Russian Su-57 variants in contested air superiority fights. Their detection ranges are limited to a few tens of miles, and with only a handful of airframes available and one of the initial 3 written off after a mechanical crash, though the pilot survived, their use must be carefully managed. Nevertheless, in strike and air defense roles, launching Storm Shadow or Aster-15, they are invaluable. Recent Ukrainian strikes using Storm Shadow against a major Russian explosives and propellant plant in the Bryansk area demonstrate how destructive these assets can be. Practically, more Mirages and more Aster missiles mean better defended facilities, broader coverage with vertically launched interceptors, and greater capacity to handle mixed salvos without exhausting scarce Patriot interceptors. Yet hardware is only as useful as the crews that operate it. The third component of Macron's package is therefore crucial: an expansion of training for Ukrainian pilots to operate Mirages. When Macron first pledged Mirages in June 2024, he also proposed 6-month training courses for Ukrainian pilots and ground personnel, The first groups reportedly finished training in December 2024 at Nancy Air Base in eastern France, with instruction covering flight operations, tactical navigation, weapon systems and maintenance tailored to Mirage 2500 avionics, and combat employment, and training conducted in English to suit Ukrainian personnel. The new expansion likely means more pilots and maintainers will be trained, and perhaps instruction on additional systems such as electronic warfare suites attached to forthcoming aircraft. France's announcements add to an already substantial corpus of French aid. That continuing commitment is notable given recent domestic instability. Earlier in October, France saw its fifth government in 3 years collapse less than a day after being formed, the third failure inside 12 months. Credit agency Moody's downgraded France's outlook to negative from stable, citing political fragmentation that could hamper efforts to tackle fiscal deficits and rising debt. And that downgrade coincided with Macron's announcement to increase military support, a reminder that Paris remains committed to backing Ukraine despite domestic headwinds. France's effort contrasts with its earlier perceived slowness in the war's first phases. A Kyiv Institute report in August 2022 ranked France's contributions at $230 million in 11th place, behind the United States, Britain, and Poland, and even Germany had pledged significantly more. Since then, France has greatly increased its support. As of September 2025, France's total aid to Ukraine tallied about $10 billion, including roughly $6.86 billion for weapons transfers, sustainment and training, and about $3.14 billion in financial support, including a $2.67 billion contribution to the European Peace Facility that helps reimburse member states for arms deliveries. By the end of 2023, France had transferred dozens of systems and large quantities of material, 30 Caesar self-propelled guns, multiple rocket launchers and howitzers, hundreds of armored and transport vehicles, reconnaissance drones and detection kits, thousands of small arms and millions of rounds of ammunition, as well as training roughly 10,000 Ukrainian soldiers in France and Poland, and even programs to prepare a whole brigade on French equipment. Those efforts reflect the spirit of a bilateral security agreement signed on the 16th of February 2024 that binds France and Ukraine in long-term military, political, financial, and humanitarian cooperation. Assistance to protect and restore Ukrainian territorial integrity, deterrence against future aggression, and support for Ukraine's integration into European and Euro-Atlantic institutions, with cooperation extending into strategic communications, cyber, protection of critical infrastructure, intelligence, and defense industry collaboration to improve standardization and interoperability. Macron's latest package looks like further proof that France intends to back its words with both funding and firepower. More details will emerge over time, but for now the new missiles, aircraft, and expanded training materially strengthen Ukraine's air defenses and operational reach. To follow how Kyiv continues to contest and reclaim territory, subscribe to the channel and enable notifications so you don't miss updates on military developments in Ukraine, Europe, and beyond. Thanks for watching.